back again for video number 2 about forgiveness. Hold on just a second, because I have the video that I just posted is playing in front of me and it's distracting me. So let's get away from that. So you have learned what forgiveness is and what it is not. Now comes the question, have you forgiven? Well, I said the words. I told them I forgave them. Little parentheses tidbit here. If you think that forgiveness is about you telling the other person you forgive them, or doing anything for the other person, to the other person, or really about the other person, you're worrying about the wrong things. You're just worrying about the wrong things. Because to truly forgive someone, you don't have to speak to them. Ever, if you don't choose to. So remember that forgiveness doesn't mean you condone anything. To forgive someone doesn't mean that you want to still be around them. You can choose to not be in their life and not have them in yours from a space of grounded choice. So just because you've forgiven doesn't mean that you still want them in your life. You don't have to do that. But to say, well, I told them I forgave them, I told them everything. Forgiving someone, really doesn't have anything to do with them. It is only about you. So, have I forgiven? Really. I have some questions here that I posed in class on Thursday night, and I'll pose them to you here. So, are you still triggered? So we touched on this in the first video. Are you still triggered by the memory of the event? Are you still triggered by the sound of the person's name? Are you still triggered by seeing that person? Because if so, you have not forgiven. All right? Are you still reactive? If you start to tell the story about the event, do you start to get hot in it? Do you tell it from a perspective as if it is happening or has just happened? Might have happened a long time ago. Are you wrapped up in the story so much that you're biting out words? Or are you trying to get people on your side and against the other person? Are you reactive in any way? You've not forgiven. Are you still in blame? Victim. If you are still blaming the other person or blaming the event, then you have not forgiven. You are still caught up in the poison. You know, this is simple. Is it still affecting you? Then you're still holding on to it. And it will affect you as long as you hold on to it. We've talked about this several times in class. It came about from a meme that Ashley posted, and then I took it into an experiential process in class. And the quote was, "Everything I've ever let go of had claw marks in it." How tired are you holding on to this resentment? These resentments. Do they have claw marks in them? And if so, why are you holding on so tightly? Now, some cases, why you're holding on so tightly leads me to my next question. Are you still in shame about the event, about whatever happened? If so, part of the reason why you can't forgive them is because you haven't forgiven you. Luckily, we're coming into self-forgiveness, so we'll be talking about that. Have you forgiven? Are you still triggered? You have not. Are you still reactive? You have not. Are you still blaming? You have not. Are you still in shame? You have not. Now that doesn't mean anything bad about you. It's a notice. It's an, oh, I am still triggered. I'm still holding on to that shit. So, again, I've said this for a long time. I'm going to continue to say it. If you recognizing these things, noticing these things, does not give you permission to be unkind to my friend. Okay? It's a notice. It's a clue. It's a piece of the puzzle. Big inhale. So, start to look for those hot buttons. Start to look for how you're being triggered, how you're reacting, how you're blaming, how you're in shame. And they are clues to tell you where your forgiveness lies. So, until video 3, which will be coming up in just a moment. Namaste.